Nintendo just forced a Japanese speedrun charity event to pull the use of its games, citing quote unauthorized use. Guys, I'm gonna be real, I'm getting tired of covering negative Nintendo news, but every day when I go online and I check to see, hey, what's an interesting story to make a video about, Nintendo is always in the news, and it's always almost something bad. And look, I've covered positive stuff about Nintendo here on the channel, when they released Donkey Kong Bonanza, when they released some positive sales figures. I even unboxed my Switch 2, and I've been playing the Switch 2. It's fun. I like the Switch 2. I know, shoot me, right? People think I'm some sort of like anti-Nintendo hating shill grifter, whatever, even though I make like $3 off these videos. But the truth is, I'm just reporting on what's happening, and it just so happens to be that every Nintendo headline is bad. And one week they're raising their prices, the next week they're banning consoles for whatever reason. They're always up to something. Okay, so today we're gonna go over what is going on with this Japanese charity speedrun event, what exactly happened, and we're also going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, because honestly, at face value, this looks really scummy, and to an extent it is, but there is at least an explanation for this, so we're going to get into that later in the video. But first, what's going on, guys? Cheers. Okay, so this was reported on both by Kotaku and also Games Radar. Jumping in here, they say Nintendo forces Japanese charity speedrun event to pull its games from the lineup after claiming unauthorized use. Now organizers have to ask permission for every single game in the future. RTA in Japan, which was inspired by games done quick, is set to benefit Doctors Without Borders. RTA in Japan announced yesterday that Nintendo games had been removed from the lineup of its next event, which runs from August 9th through August 15th after contact from the publisher. So that is literally in 3 days. According to a translation of the article, Nintendo said that quote, as a legal entity, they would have to ask for permission in advance to use any of the publisher's titles in future events. So let's not read the article, let's just go right to the source here. Okay, RTA in Japan has their own website. They posted this 2 days ago. They begin by saying, we would like to explain how we have come to use games for which Nintendo holds the copyright in RTA in Japan, and why Nintendo games are not being used in RTA in Japan summer 2025, as well as our future actions. RTA in Japan, by the way, that stands for real-time attack, which is effectively speedrunning. Okay, it is a speedrunning convention in Japan. RTA in Japan has previously used Nintendo games, but on June 13th 2025, Nintendo pointed out that the use of Nintendo games by a corporation requires prior permission, and that our previous use was without prior permission and constituted unauthorized use. RTA in Japan wishes to continue using Nintendo games and has begun discussions with Nintendo regarding permission. So they contacted them almost 2 months ago at this point, and they still were unable to resolve this issue before their summer event, which kicks off in just a few days, which is kind of crazy how slow these big corporations move in response to things like this. Like, how is it the case that they've reached out 2 months ago and RTA can't just contact someone at Nintendo and be like, okay, fine, we'll do what you want us to do, we will like register for authorized use or whatever, and it's been 2 months, they still can't get approval? That seems kind of insane. As of now, the decision has been made that RTA in Japan will submit individual licensing applications to Nintendo for each game and event. However, for RTA in Japan summer 2025, we were unable to clearly determine how to handle this at the time the participating games were announced, so we have decided not to use Nintendo games. For events held at RTA in Japan after RTA in Japan summer 2025, it is expected that permission will be submitted in advance to Nintendo, and that permission will be granted before the event can be used. As a result of this, it is expected that the RTA in Japan game application guidelines and application requirements will change, and we will notify you as soon as the details have been decided. We apologize to anyone affected by this. Okay, and as you can see here, RTA in Japan has been doing this for many years. It looks like the first one was in 2019, maybe it was even before that. There's articles here from 2016. Okay, so RTA in Japan is a well-known speedrunning event, and if we take a closer look at their webpage, they say the event was inspired by an event called Games Done Quick, GDQ, held in the United States, and was started with the idea that an event like GDQ could be held in Japan. And if we take a look at the summer 2025 event, we can scroll down and see some more information about where it's going to be taking place and all that other stuff. But here you can also see the donation recipient, right? And so this confirms that this is in fact a speedrunning event for charity. For those of you that don't know, this is Doctors Without Borders. That's what you might know this charity as. This charity cares for people affected by conflict, disease, outbreaks, natural and human-made disasters, and exclusion from healthcare in more than 75 countries. If you guys want to learn more about this charity or you want to donate to them, then I'll leave a link to the website down in the description below. It looks like they are responding to the unprecedented humanitarian crisis in Gaza as well. So I know there are a lot of relevant global issues being tackled by Doctors Without Borders, and of course RTA in Japan is fully transparent with their previous donations. So when they did their winter 2024 event, they showed the report on donations to Doctors Without Borders here. All of this is on RTA's website, so they do appear to be fully legit. Right now this website is translated from Japanese. I don't actually speak Japanese, so I can't, you know, sit here and co-sign this event 100% and say yeah it's legit, but it seems legit. I mean, I'm not a professional here, I don't know what I'm talking about, but like, you know, spending 10 minutes on the website, it seems like they're for a good cause and they seem to show some valid donation receipts. So it seems like a great place that Nintendo would want their games to be at, right? Like, why would Nintendo not want to be a part of such a great event? And I think a lot of people will see stuff like this and say, oh well, Nintendo's just a greedy company and they're just a law firm that makes video games and they just don't want anybody to have access to Mario at all for whatever reason at any time, and if so they want to get paid for it, and if they're not getting paid for it they at least want credit for it. And like, look, I think the anti-Nintendo hate is at fever pitch right now because the Switch 2 is expensive. The Switch 2 games are $80, at least one or two of them are, and they just raised the price of the old Switch, plus there's been a lot of like DRM things going around and the game key cards, whatever, right? So the anti-Nintendo hate is at a fever pitch, which causes people to be illogical with these things, right? They just think, oh, Nintendo equals bad and that's why they're doing this, Nintendo's evil so that's why they're doing this, right? And that's not true. And if we just use a little bit of logic here, we think about this for 2 seconds, right? It would benefit Nintendo to be a part of this. Like, they would get goodwill from the community by being a part of a charity event like this, right? So it is in Nintendo's best interest to participate in stuff like this. So then we have to step back and say, okay, well, why would Nintendo not participate in this? And the reason is actually really simple. Nintendo is in the top 200 most valuable companies in the entire world, and by market cap, as far as I know, they are the most valuable single gaming company on the planet. Okay, so the reason that I tell you this is to help you understand that Nintendo is such an absolutely gigantic global international brand that there is absolutely no way that they can go through and individually vet and co-sign every possible single event that wants to use their intellectual property throughout the world. Right now this is in Japan, so like it should be a little bit easier for them, but like there are events popping up all around the world just like this that want to use Nintendo games as part of their convention or whatever their charity cause is or whatever the case might be. And so the reason that Nintendo has to individually vet these things is because, let me paint you a really generic hypothetical example. Okay, let's say your favorite streamer organization wants to set up a charity event just like this, right? Let's say whether it's FaZe Clan or it's OTK or it's whoever this streamer group is, or maybe it's just XQC himself or whoever, right? You pick a streamer, pick whoever your favorite content creator is. Okay, let's say they want to have a charity event, and that charity event is sponsored by Stake, by DraftKings, and by Fansly, right? And they want to do a speedrunning event that has, you know, Super Mario 64, for example. Okay, does Nintendo want to be a part of that charity event if it is sponsored by Fansly, DraftKings, Stake.com, right? The answer might be no, because those are all sponsors that, you know, while they are supporting a good cause and while they may be donating a lot of money, they are also not kid friendly. Okay, they are not family friendly sponsors, and a lot of these mega corporations don't want to sign off on events that, you know, participate with or work with brands that are not family friendly. You know, we could even say something like Budweiser or an alcohol brand, right? Like Nintendo won't want to be affiliated with an event that is simultaneously affiliated with these other companies, right? And this is why Nintendo has to individually vet every single event, even if it is for charity, just to make sure that they are not attaching their brand accidentally with something like Fansly or DraftKings or whatever the case might be, because that type of scenario that I just presented to you is extremely plausible, and everyone can believe that that would be a hypothetical scenario that could happen, right? In the past there have been events like the Streamer Awards, or like, I can't remember if it was Ludwig's chess boxing event or if it was Creator Clash, but like some of these big, you know, sort of events that happen online, sometimes the sponsors are, you know, in a gray area. Maybe they're a little bit questionable, right? It happens. And like, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. If Fansly or DraftKings wants to donate $100,000 to Doctors Without Borders, thumbs up, 100%, I approve it, let's go. Absolutely. Whether I support those companies or not, money's money, and if that can go to kids that are starving in another country halfway around the world, fantastic. I applaud that. Thank you so much, right? So for me personally, I have no problem with this, but Nintendo, you have to think about Nintendo's perspective as an international global brand. They have to protect their brand image, right? I mean, as much as you might think that that's stupid or greedy or evil or whatever the case might be, like it's completely reasonable for Nintendo to do that as a company that makes games for kids. It's easy to forget that, right? It's easy to forget that like Mario, Pokemon, all these games are for children, even though people like you and I are in our 30s or maybe 20s or 40s and we like to play these games, right? These are games for kids, and so it makes complete sense why Nintendo would do this. Is it frustrating? Absolutely. Should there be a faster way for Nintendo to greenlight these things? Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Is it too bad that Nintendo games are not at RTA in Japan this summer? Yes, absolutely. Is it a net negative that Nintendo's games are not there? Absolutely, right? All of this is true. I can understand all of this, and this headline looks really bad and it does really suck, and I don't think anybody's happy about this. And I think honestly, once Nintendo does whatever their vetting process is and their approval process, once they do their research and figure out what RTA in Japan is, they're gonna feel bad that they weren't a part of it, right? And the fact, again, the fact that it's 2 months later and they still haven't gotten approval here for the summer event is like, it is what it is. It's unfortunate, right? But I just wanted to make this video to share with you guys kind of what's going on here and why, and I think that's the most important part. Why is this happening? I think, again, it's so easy in 2025 to be like, yep, Nintendo is scummy, they're greedy, they're evil, and the truth is that like the world is not that black and white, right? The world, I wish it were. I wish things were that simple. I wish there was just an obvious bad guy and we could just point to them and be like, that's the evil in the world, right? But part of like growing up and understanding these things is realizing that the entire world is shades of gray and some things are worse than others, and this just so happens to be one of those cases that this looks really bad, it does really suck, and yeah, it's gonna give more bad press to Nintendo, of course, right? Even this video is going to look bad on the outside, even though it is still important to like recognize and understand like, why is this happening, right? And once you understand that, I think it's logical as to why this is happening, even though we can all agree that it sucks. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to cover this and let you guys know what exactly is going on here, why this is happening, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a thumbs up on it. It really helps out the channel a ton. Subscribe if you're new here, click the bell to be notified, and with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I will talk to you guys again soon. Peace.